Commander Taman looked at the huge screens floating in front of him. The images were terrifying. A massive dark cloud was moving through space, eating entire star systems. Where the Kepler system used to be, there was now just empty blackness. Billions of people had lived there just hours ago. Now there was nothing. The meeting room was full of Earth's top military officers. Everyone looked worried. Admiral Hyjin stood up and shared the bad news. Her voice was calm, but Timon could see the fear in her eyes. "Our space fleets are almost gone," she said. "We only have 30% of our ships left. The 3 biggest alien races in the galaxy have tried everything. The smart Zilithians used their best computers and battle plans. The psychic Corvani sent their mind warriors. The Nexori brought their most advanced weapons. Nothing worked. They all failed." She paused and looked around the room. "Now they want our help. They're asking humans to save them." Timon couldn't believe what he was hearing. Just 2 years ago, Earth had joined the Galactic Council. Most aliens thought humans were stupid and violent. They called humans the baby species behind their backs. The alien leaders would roll their eyes when human representatives spoke at meetings. They treated Earth like an annoying little brother who couldn't do anything right. Lieutenant Junho was working at his computer station. He looked up with a surprised expression. "Commander, this is crazy. 6 months ago, the Zilithians wouldn't even let us see their basic technology. They said humans were too primitive to understand it. Now they want us to save their entire civilization." The other officers started talking among themselves. Some were angry about how the aliens had treated them. Others were scared about fighting, something that had already defeated the galaxy's strongest races. Taman understood why everyone felt confused. The aliens had always acted like they were so much better than humans. The Zilithians were proud of their supercomputers and logical thinking. The Corvoni bragged about their mind powers. The Nexari showed off their incredible weapons that could destroy planets. But now all their advanced technology was useless. The Void Swarm had eaten their fleets like a monster eating cookies. Their home planets were evacuating. Millions of alien civilians were running away in panic. "Sir," said Captain Minho from across the room, "the aliens are really desperate. My sources tell me that the Zilithian High Council actually cried during their last meeting. I didn't even know they could cry." Taman walked over to the main display. He watched the dark swarm moving through space. It looked like a living shadow that was hungry for everything. The swarm moved in strange patterns, almost like it was thinking. Every star system it touched became empty and dead. "Get me all the information we have about this thing." Taman ordered his team, "And prepare Oslo Station for visitors. If the aliens want our help, we need to understand what we're fighting." Deep down, Taman felt something the aliens probably didn't expect. He wasn't scared. He was excited. Finally, humans had a chance to show what they could really do. The alien appeared in a flash of blue light on Oslo Station's diplomatic deck. Ambassador Vextel looked like a walking crystal sculpture, but his body was glowing with bright, flashing colors that showed how worried he was. Dr. Soyoung had never seen a Zilithian this panicked before. Usually, they were calm and cold, like robots. Her translation device started buzzing as soon as the alien began speaking. The machine was working hard to change his complex alien language into simple human words. "We need your help right now," Vextel said quickly. He didn't waste time with polite greetings or formal introductions. "Your people do things in strange ways. Maybe you can solve problems that our computers cannot figure out." Dr. Soyoung looked surprised. This was the same species that had called humans illogical primitives just last year. Now they were asking for human creativity and weird thinking. Captain Minho was standing nearby with his security team. He tried not to smile when he heard the alien's request. For the past 6 months, Earth's secret space stations had been watching the Void Swarm get closer and closer, but humans had been very quiet about what they were planning. Don't worry, Ambassador, Minho said in a calm voice. We know exactly what's happening out there. Our military teams have been getting ready for this fight since we first heard about the swarm. The crystal alien's body started flickering like a broken light bulb. The colors changed from urgent red to confused purple. Getting ready? Vextal asked. Your people should be running away to other galaxies. The Void Swarm cannot be stopped with normal fighting methods. Our best war computers tried every possible battle strategy. Nothing worked. The Corvani sent their strongest mind warriors. They all failed. The Nexara used planet-killing weapons. The swarm just ate the explosions and grew stronger. Dr. Soyoung couldn't help but smile a little bit. She had been studying alien cultures for 10 years. She knew that most alien species followed very strict rules about how to fight wars. They used the same tactics over and over again because their computers told them it was the logical thing to do. Ambassador Vexto, she said gently, I think you're about to learn something very important about humans. We really don't like following normal rules. When everyone says something is impossible, we usually try to do it anyway. The alien looked even more confused. His crystal body was now flashing with yellow lights, which meant he was trying very hard to understand something that didn't make sense to him. But your technology is hundreds of years behind ours, Vextal protested. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow. How can you possibly fight something that defeated our advanced civilizations? Captain Minho stepped forward. That's exactly why we might succeed. We don't think the same way you do. While you were using logic and computers, we were being creative and crazy. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to try something completely different. The ambassador's lights dimmed as he realized that maybe, just maybe, humanity's reputation for being unpredictable might actually be useful for once. The big meeting room on Earth's space station was packed with people. Floating hologram images of 3 different alien species were watching everything. General Dongwu stood at the front with a huge digital display behind him, showing the scary black cloud moving through space. Okay, everyone listen carefully, the general said. This monster eats energy, right? It moves from star to star, eating everything it finds. But here's the thing, it always eats in the same pattern. It's like a hungry animal that always hunts the same way. He pointed to the screen and showed how the Void Swarm moved. Look at this. Every time it attacks a solar system, it goes for the biggest energy source first. Then it works its way down to smaller targets. It's totally predictable. The alien representatives looked confused. They had been fighting this thing for months and never noticed the pattern. Strategic analyst Yoonji walked up to the front. She was young but really smart with numbers and battle plans. We did a lot of math homework on this creature, she said with a smile. We found special sound frequencies that can mess up how it eats energy. Think of it like playing the wrong music so loudly that it gives the monster a headache. She showed them pages and pages of calculations on the big screen. The numbers were so complex that even the alien computers were having trouble following along. The Corvani representative spoke directly into everyone's mind using telepathy. Your math looks correct, humans. But your primitive technology cannot be accurate enough for this plan. You need perfect timing across dozens of locations at exactly the same moment. Even our advanced computers struggle with such precision. Engineer Eugen started laughing. This made all the aliens very confused, because laughing during a war meeting seemed inappropriate. That's where you're completely wrong, Eugen said, still grinning. We've been playing around with some of the equipment you guys gave us. We made a few tiny changes here and there. She walked over to a strange-looking machine in the corner of the room. It looked like someone had taken apart 3 different alien devices and stuck them back together in a crazy way. Wires and crystal components were mixed together in ways that shouldn't work. The aliens leaned forward in their chairs and hologram projectors. They looked very worried. Eugen pressed a button and the impossible machine started working perfectly, Lights flashed in beautiful patterns, and energy readings showed it was performing better than any pure alien technology. We call this adaptive integration, Eugen explained proudly. We don't just copy your inventions. We take them apart, figure out how they work, and then make them work better. Sometimes we combine technologies from different species that you said could never work together. The Zilithian ambassador's crystal bodies started flashing rapidly. This device should not function. The harmonic frequencies from different species technology should create destructive interference patterns. Should, would, could, Eugen said, with a shrug. We built it anyway, and tested it. Turns out it works great. Sometimes you just have to ignore what the textbooks say, and try something new. Chief Engineer, Seo Jin, opened the heavy metal doors to the modification workshop. The alien visitors stepped inside and their jaws dropped. The huge room was buzzing with activity. Human workers in dirty coveralls were crawling all over pieces of alien technology, taking them apart and putting them back together in completely new ways. Welcome to our playground, Seokijin said with a big smile. This is where we take your fancy equipment and make it actually useful. Sparks flew from welding torches as technicians combined Silithian computer parts with Corvani devices. Other workers were stuffing Nexari engine components into human-built metal frames. The workshop looked like a mad scientist's laboratory. The Nexari representative walked over to examine one particular machine. His 4 eyes widened in shock. This quantum drive has been connected to Zilithian logic processors, he said in a worried voice. The energy patterns from these two technologies should cancel each other out and explode. This device should have destroyed your entire space station. Technician Hyenwu looked up from her workbench. She had grease on her face and was holding a plasma torch. Yeah, our computers told us the same thing, she said cheerfully. The safety warnings were going crazy. Red alerts everywhere. But we figured, what's the worst that could happen? So we built it anyway, and turned it on. She pointed to a display screen showing the machine's performance. Look at those numbers. This thing is working 3 times better than any of your original equipment ever did. The Corvani observer tried to read the humans' minds to understand their thinking process. But his psychic tentacles started shaking and pulled back quickly. I cannot comprehend your thought patterns, he said in confusion. Your species creates solutions without following any logical steps. You jump directly from problem to answer without showing your work. Dr. Ji-hoon walked over with a tablet computer full of test results. We like to call it creative problem solving, he explained, while you guys spend years running computer simulations and theoretical calculations. We just start building stuff and see what happens. He showed them charts and graphs that made the aliens' heads spin. Every single modified device was performing way better than the original alien technology. Your own scientists told us these equipment combinations were completely impossible, Commander Nayoung added. They said the physics wouldn't work. They said we would create black holes or tear apart space-time. They said we were too stupid to understand why it couldn't be done. She gestured around the busy workshop where dozens of impossible machines were humming along perfectly. So we decided to prove them wrong. Making impossible things work is basically what humans do best. We've been doing it our whole history. When everyone says something can't be done, we take that as a personal challenge. The alien delegates started talking to each other in their own languages. They were finally beginning to understand that they had completely misjudged humanity's abilities. Humans didn't follow the same rules as other species. They didn't need to understand why something worked. They just needed to make it work. All across Earth, something incredible was happening. The military recruitment offices were packed with people, but this wasn't like any war draft in human history. These people weren't being forced to join. They were fighting to get in line. Admiral Suman stood in the main command center, watching the numbers climb on her computer screens. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Ma'am, we have a problem, said Captain Ji Young, running up with a stack of papers. We've received over 2 million volunteer applications in just 6 hours. Our computers can't process them fast enough. The Admiral shook her head in amazement. 2 million. We only asked for 50,000 volunteers. It gets crazier, Gaiam continued. We have billionaire business owners offering to donate their entire private space fleets. Old retired soldiers who haven't fought in 30 years are coming out of retirement. Whole families are volunteering together. Grandparents, parents, and kids all signing up at the same time. Commander Wujin burst through the door, carrying a tablet computer. His face was red from running around all day. Admiral, you need to see this, he said, trying to catch his breath. The civilian space companies want to help. Mining corporations, cargo haulers, even tourist cruise ships. They all want to convert their vessels into military support craft, and they're doing it for free. No payment required. The alien observers who were watching all this looked completely confused. They kept talking to each other in their own languages, trying to understand what they were seeing. Dr. Yuansu noticed how puzzled the aliens looked. She walked over to Ambassador Vextel, whose crystal body was flashing with confused colors. I can see you don't understand what's happening here, she said kindly. Let me explain something about human culture. We have a very simple rule that we teach our children. When someone needs help, you help them. It doesn't matter if they're strangers. It doesn't matter if they're from a different planet. If they ask for help, we respond. The Zilithian diplomat's body flashed brighter as his computer brain tried to process this information. But Dr. Yansu, he said slowly, our battle computers calculate that less than 12% of your volunteers will survive this mission. Most of them will die. Why are so many humans volunteering for certain death to save people they have never met? Lieutenant Colonel Dayun overheard the conversation and walked over. She had been a soldier for 20 years and had seen many battles. Ambassador, that's exactly why we're all volunteering, she said with a serious expression. Because it's dangerous. Because people will die. Because it's the right thing to do, even when it's the hardest thing to do. She looked out the window at the long lines of people still waiting to volunteer. You see, we humans believe that the most important moments in life are when you have to choose between what's safe and what's right. Today, millions of people are choosing what's right. The alien couldn't understand this logic, but he was starting to realize that humans operated by completely different rules than the rest of the galaxy. The recruitment centers in every major city on Earth were completely overwhelmed. Long lines of people wrapped around entire city blocks. But these weren't desperate people trying to escape poverty by joining the military. These were doctors, teachers, engineers, and business owners all wanting to fight an alien monster that had already destroyed 3 advanced civilizations. Admiral Sumin paced back and forth in the command center, staring at the constantly updating numbers on the wall screens. Every few seconds, thousands more applications poured in from around the globe. This is insane, she muttered to herself. We put out a call for volunteers yesterday evening. Now look at this mess. Captain Ji Young ran up to her with sweat dripping down her face. She had been working non-stop to process all the applications flooding their systems. Admiral, our computers are crashing from too much data, she reported breathlessly. We now have over 2 million people who want to volunteer for this suicide mission. The CEO of Hyundai Space Industries just donated his entire fleet of cargo ships. A retired general who's 80 years old drove 6 hours to sign up. 3 different families, parents, grandparents, and teenage kids, all registered together. Before Admiral Sumin could respond, Commander Wu Jin burst through the door, carrying an armload of tablet computers and printed documents. Ma'am, you're not going to believe this, he said, dumping everything on her desk. Every major shipping company on Earth wants to help. Mining corporations are offering their asteroid drilling ships. Even the luxury space cruise lines want to convert their passenger ships into military vessels. And here's the crazy part. Nobody wants payment. They're all doing this for free. The alien observers standing in the corner of the room looked like their brains were going to explode from confusion. Ambassador Vextel's crystalline body was flashing rapidly between different colors, which meant his computer mind was overheating from trying to understand human behavior. Dr. Yansu noticed the aliens whispering frantically to each other in their own languages. She walked over to help explain what was happening. "Ambassador, I can see this doesn't make sense to you," she said gently. "Let me tell you about human culture. From the time we're little children, our parents teach us one simple rule. When someone needs help, you help them. Period. End of discussion." She pointed to the crowds of volunteers, visible through the window. "It doesn't matter that we've never met your people before today. It doesn't matter that this fight isn't our responsibility. You came to Earth asking for help, so now it becomes our problem too." The Zilithians' logic processors were sparking with confusion. "Dr. Yansu, our mathematical models show that fewer than 12 people out of every 100 will survive this battle. Why are millions of humans volunteering to die for strangers from another planet?" Lieutenant Colonel Dayun had been quietly listening to the conversation. She stepped forward with a serious expression on her weathered face. She had been a career soldier and understood sacrifice better than most people. "Ambassador, that's exactly why we're all here," she said firmly. "Because it's dangerous. Because most of us won't come home. Because saving innocent lives is more important than our own safety." The massive human fleet spread out across the dark edge of the solar system like a wall of metal and fire. Over 2,000 ships of all sizes floated in perfect formation: military battleships, converted cargo vessels, mining ships, and even luxury cruise liners that had been turned into weapons platforms. Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo stood on the bridge of the command ship, watching the tactical displays as the void swarm approached. The enemy looked like a living shadow stretching across space, darker than the blackness between stars. It was so huge that it blocked out entire constellations behind it. "All ships, prepare for Phase 1, the Admiral announced over the fleet communications. "Remember, we only get one shot at this." The energy trap activated exactly as planned. Invisible force fields created by the modified alien technology formed a cage around 60% of the approaching swarm. For a few precious moments, it looked like the impossible plan was actually working. Captain Inho's excited voice crackled over the radio from the front battle line. "Phase 1 successful. The resonance field is holding. We've trapped most of the creature." Cheers erupted across the command bridge. Officers hugged each other and pumped their fists in the air. Maybe, just maybe, humans had figured out how to stop the unstoppable monster. But their celebration lasted less than 30 seconds. The void swarm began to change. Instead of fighting against the energy trap, it started absorbing the trap's power and using it to grow stronger. The creature was learning and adapting faster than any computer model had predicted. Commander Sunyoung watched in horror from her position near the front lines. "Admiral, it's breaking free. The swarm is eating our trap and using the energy to escape." Suddenly, half of her squadron disappeared. One moment there were 50 ships flying beside her, and the next moment there was just empty space. The swarm had consumed them so quickly that they didn't even have time to scream over the radio. "Fleet." Admiral Kung-soo's face went pale as he watched the battle displays. Their best plan had failed in minutes. The creature was now stronger than before and heading straight for Earth. "All units, this is Admiral Kung-soo," he announced with a heavy voice. "The entity has adapted to our primary strategy. We are now initiating final protocol." On the alien observation ship, the Corvani representative tried to read the Admiral's mind to understand what final protocol meant. When he saw the plan, his psychic tentacles recoiled in shock. "No," he whispered telepathically to his fellow aliens. "They cannot be serious. But the humans were completely serious. One by one, ships began turning toward the swarm's core and accelerating at maximum speed. They weren't trying to shoot the creature with weapons anymore. They were turning themselves into missiles. Captain Haywan was among the first to make the final charge. Her voice came over the communications one last time as her ship dove into the heart of the dark mass. "This is for everyone who comes after us," she said calmly. "For all the children who deserve to see tomorrow." The alien observers couldn't believe what they were witnessing. An entire species was willingly sacrificing itself to save strangers they had never met. Something incredible and terrifying was happening to the Void Swarm. The massive dark creature that had been eating entire star systems was now twisting and writhing in space like it was having a nightmare. Bright flashes of chaotic energy were shooting through its black form in random patterns. Dr. Minyoung stared at her computer screens in complete disbelief. She had been studying alien life forms for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like this before. "Admiral, you need to see these readings," she called out with excitement in her voice. "The swarm is breaking apart. It's literally tearing itself into pieces." She pointed to the data streaming across her monitors. "When our people sacrificed themselves and flew into the creature's core, they didn't just die. Their human consciousness, their thoughts and memories and emotions, got absorbed into the swarm's brain. And now it's causing the whole thing to malfunction." Admiral Sung-ho rushed over to look at the tactical display. What he saw was beyond anything the military had prepared for. The single massive entity that had been moving toward Earth was now splitting into thousands of smaller fragments. Some pieces were the size of battleships, others were as big as entire cities. "It's like watching a computer virus spread through an alien brain," the Admiral said in amazement. "The fragments are fighting each other instead of working together." Engineer Jae Young was frantically analyzing the quantum energy readings from her workstation. Her calculations were showing something that should have been impossible. "Sir, I'm detecting two completely different behavior patterns in the fragments," she reported. "Some pieces still want to consume and destroy everything, just like before. But other pieces are trying to do the opposite. They're attempting to create and build things." She pulled up a visual display that made everyone's jaw drop. Some of the swarm fragments were attacking and trying to eat other fragments. It was like watching a creature having a war with itself. The alien observers on the command bridge were completely speechless. They had been watching the Void Swarm destroy civilizations for months, and it had always been perfectly coordinated and efficient. Now, it looked like it was having a mental breakdown. "Colonel," Bo-young opened communication channels to all the remaining human ships scattered across the battlefield. "Attention all vessels, this is command. Do not approach the target. Maintain safe distance. The enemy is showing completely new behaviors that we don't understand yet." Through the main viewing window, they could see the fragments of the swarm swirling around each other in chaotic patterns. Some pieces were glowing with creative energy, trying to repair damage to nearby space. Other pieces were still dark and hungry, trying to consume their own brothers and sisters. For the first time since the Void Swarm had appeared in the galaxy, it had stopped moving toward populated worlds. Instead, it was focused entirely on fighting an internal civil war between the parts that wanted to destroy and the parts that wanted to create. The human sacrifice had done something that all the advanced alien technology couldn't accomplish. They had given the monster a conscience, and now it couldn't decide if it wanted to be good or evil. Captain Changmin looked at the chaos in front of him and made a decision that nobody expected. Instead of retreating to safety, he ordered his remaining ships to move closer to the confused swarm fragments. "All vessels, follow my lead," he announced over the radio. "We're going to try something that's never been done before." The other captains thought he had lost his mind. The swarm fragments were still dangerous, even while fighting each other. But Changmin had an idea that was either brilliant or completely insane. Commander the Jin stood beside him on the bridge. Understanding his plan, begin cultural transmission, she ordered the communications team. Send everything we have about human civilization directly at those fragments. The crew looked confused. "Ma'am, what exactly should we transmit?" asked the radio operator. "Everything," Thudgen replied. "Music from every country on Earth. Poetry and stories, philosophy books, art galleries, movies, comedy shows, even cooking, recipes. Show them what it means to be human." Across the small human fleet, each ship began broadcasting different aspects of human culture. One ship transmitted classical music from Mozart and Beethoven. Another sent rock concerts and pop songs. A third ship broadcast children's lullabies and nursery rhymes. Lieutenant Sojin was monitoring her sensor equipment when something incredible started happening. "Captain, you need to see this," she called out with excitement. "The swarm fragments are responding to our transmissions, but not in the way we expected." She pointed to her display screens. "They're not just listening to our broadcasts. They're using the cultural information to fix things. Look at this sector where the Kepler system used to be. The fragments are actually rebuilding the damaged space where stars and planets were destroyed." Dr. Sung-woo was running psychological analysis on the fragments' behavior patterns. What he discovered made him question everything he knew about alien life forms. "The fragments are learning human emotions," he reported in amazement. "They're absorbing our concepts of love, friendship, sacrifice, and hope. It's like they're going to school and humans are the teachers." He showed everyone his data. The swarm isn't just changing what it does. It's changing what it is. It's becoming something completely new. Some fragments that had been consuming energy were now giving energy back to dead star systems. Others were carefully rebuilding planets that had been destroyed. They were learning to create instead of destroy. Fleet Admiral Taeyong watched all of this happening and made a decision that would be remembered throughout galactic history. "All units, power down your weapons," he commanded. "Stop preparing for battle. We're not fighting an enemy anymore. We're helping something be reborn into a better version of itself." The alien observers couldn't believe what they were seeing. Humanity had done the impossible again. They had taken the most destructive force in the galaxy and taught it how to be good. The swarm fragments were no longer monsters. They were becoming helpers, using their incredible power to fix the damage they had caused. Humanity had saved the galaxy, not through superior weapons or advanced technology, but through the simple act of sharing what made them human. 6 months had passed since the battle that changed everything. The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council was packed with representatives from hundreds of different alien species. They had all come to hear what humanity would say to the most generous offer in galactic history. Representative Ha Young stood at the center of the massive chamber, looking small compared to the towering alien delegates around her. The offers on the table were incredible leadership positions that would make humans one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Access to technology that could solve every problem on Earth, and wealth beyond imagination. "We are deeply honored by your generous offers," she said clearly, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. "The positions you're offering us, the advanced technology, the resources, it's more than we ever dreamed of when we first joined this council." The alien delegates leaned forward, expecting humans to eagerly accept everything being offered. However, Ha Young continued, "We must respectfully decline most of these gifts. We're still new to this galaxy. We're still learning how to be good neighbors to all of you. We don't want power or advanced weapons. We just want to help when help is needed." Confused murmurs spread throughout the chamber. No species in galactic history had ever turned down such opportunities. Meanwhile, in a completely different part of the galaxy, something miraculous was happening. The creature that had once been called the Void Swarm was now known by a new name, the Gardener. Instead of consuming star systems, it was bringing them back to life. Ambassador Jinho stood on the observation deck of a human research ship, watching the Gardener work. Streams of brilliant light flowed from the entity toward a dead solar system. Slowly, impossibly, planets that had been destroyed were reforming. Stars that had been extinguished were beginning to shine again. 17 star systems have been completely restored, Ginho said to the group of alien diplomats standing beside him. Billions of people who lost their homes now have new worlds to live on. He paused, still amazed by what he was witnessing. We didn't defeat our enemy in this war. We didn't destroy it or force it to surrender. We helped it discover a better way to exist. The Zilithian delegate's crystalline form was pulsing with colors that indicated deep thought. Representative Jinho, your species continues to accomplish things that our computers say are impossible. How do humans consistently exceed all mathematical predictions? Commander Yangsu was preparing to leave on a transport ship back to Earth. He smiled as he heard the question that every alien seemed to ask. It's really quite simple, he explained. We believe that anything worth doing is worth doing together. When you combine that belief with our stubborn refusal to accept defeat, then impossible just becomes another word for not yet achieved. Word about humanity's approach to problems spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Within months, alien civilizations facing difficult challenges began asking themselves a new question. What would the humans do? The answer was always the same. Humans would help others instead of helping themselves. They would refuse to give up even when defeat seemed certain. And most importantly, they would find ways to turn enemies into friends, instead of simply destroying them. The universe had learned something profound about humanity that day. When aliens needed help, humans delivered more than just military aid or technological solutions. They delivered hope, transformation, and proof that even the darkest forces could choose to become sources of light.